In a C program, the execution starts from the main function, right? Now what if I make the main point to my virus code? So that it is executed first, and once the virus code has been executed, it jumps to the actual main function. So this is how actual P infector file looks like. In this case, is the actual exe lost?
No.
No. On top of the exe, the virus code is attached. So when I run the exe, firstly the virus code is going to get executed, and after that the actual exe is going to get executed. So in this case, I'm not going to notice any difference in it. Okay, so that is a P infector. Now let's talk about what are the different types of malwares. Viruses, worms, Trojans. What is a Trojan?
Sits on the system and
A Trojan is something that is basically a virus server and a client relationship where someone on a client, the server can monitor all the activities that are happening on the client.
Trojan is basically a carrier of malicious code.
keeps itself hidden.
Yeah.
It keeps itself hidden.
You say Troy, right?
Yeah.
In that, they have something as a Trojan horse.
Yeah.
Yes.
From there itself, has the term Trojan horse popped up in malwares. It's the same concept, where malicious software is packaged in such a way that it looks legitimate.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is what we call as a Trojan horse. That's the basic definition. There are different kinds of Trojans. For example, we have something known as a rat. Again, a rat, the tool is a polynic. Some call it as remote administration tool. Some of them call it as remote access Trojan. So it depends upon how the actual malware was packaged. For example, there was very recently an attack which contained the actual virus or Trojan horse, which looked like a real antivirus, and it asks you to actually uninstall your original antivirus and so on. So this is an example of a Trojan horse. Any malicious software which hides itself to look like legitimate software is what we call as a Trojan horse. What is the key logger?
Yeah.
Log are the keys, are the keystrokes. Okay. What's a backdoor?
Backdoor is a vulnerability that provides access to any sort of threat or any virus or any intrusion.
Technically, a backdoor is something that you open a port in a system using which we can have a remote command execution. Okay, that is what we call as a backdoor. Now, have you heard about the term rootkit?
Yeah. Drivers.
Yes. So what is a rootkit?
Rootkit is used to hide your malicious software.
Yeah. Now, okay, I tell you from where the term rootkit came. Root on Linux is the super user. Kit is something that is a collection of malware using which you can do a lot of malicious activities. And that's how the term rootkit came. Now, let's assume Windows system. Okay. Ever heard about the term ring 0, ring 3?
Protection layers, kernel.
These are some of the protection layers that are available. Now, how many rings does Windows use? Which ones? Ring 0 and ring 3. Okay. Now, ring 0 is allocated for what processes? Kernel processes and
System.
device drivers or drivers basically. Now, according to Windows, no application is supposed to directly access any hardware. Okay? When you create a file on a Windows platform, we use the API called as create file, and there's an API called as create file. If you want to create a file on your hard disk, you have to call that API. Okay? So technically what you're doing is, even though you feel that you're actually creating the file on the hard disk, what is happening is that you're requesting the kernel to access your hard disk and create a physical file. This is a protection mechanism. Okay? So technically, no code which belongs to the application, which belongs to the ring 3 user mode. We have a kernel mode and user mode. Ring 0 is kernel mode, ring 3 is user mode. So any application that belongs to user mode is not supposed to access the hardware device directly. This is what is happening. Now, what is a device driver?
It's a code that is used to access the.
It's the interface to access the hardware.
Okay, another question. If you bought a graphics card, brand new, from let's say NVIDIA or something, will you be using the default graphics driver that came with your Windows machine or its own graphics driver? Which one will you prefer? The one that came with the graphics card? Why?
Where is it compatible with the hardware?
For better performance, Windows allows standard driver.
For better performance, because this driver knows what features are present inside my device. See, the default driver will have a default set of features, whereas this driver is something that was written specifically for this particular device, so it will know how to get maximum performance out of it. Okay? So basically, a device driver is something that tells the system how to use a device and what are the features available. Now, does a device driver require to access hardware?
Device drivers do?
Yes, they do, right? That means, can I place a device driver in user mode?
No.
I cannot. So technically, what's happening is that I have to place a system or a device driver in kernel mode because they have to directly access the hardware. Okay. Now, what is happening in the root game is that there are different modules. Antiviruses. These are applications which are installed in user mode or kernel mode.
I think it works in the kernel mode also.
Kernel mode.
Some of them have kernel modes. But usually, earlier at least, they were having application mode applications, user mode applications. There are what, firewalls?
User
Kernel
mode.
mode.
User mode.
Sorry.
User mode.
How do you decide if a file is, means particular application has got to be kernel mode or user mode? How do you decide it? Means if the antivirus is kernel mode or user mode, how do you decide it?
Most of the applications which don't have a device driver extension, see, what is the extension of a device driver? SYS. Okay. If you are installing an application, it doesn't contain a sys file, then what does it mean? It is a user mode application. If it needs to access kernel mode application, kernel mode features, it needs to have a device driver, a system driver module. If during installation, no such modules which belong to kernel mode or Ring0 are being installed, then you can very easily assume that it's a user mode application. Most of the firewall applications again are user mode. Most of them. Some of them again have kernel modes. Now, okay, when I hit Task Manager, when I get the list of running applications that are running on the system, where is this info gathered from? Who maintains the list of running applications and processes? The kernel does. It is a linked list entirely. Now, according to the architecture itself, any device or any application that is running in the same mode has complete control over other applications also. They have the same privileges. So if I write a device driver, it will have the same privileges just as that of the kernel mode, or the kernel. Now, this linked list is something that is maintained by the kernel. If I create a driver which is going to modify this list and remove certain entries, will it work? It will work. This is how rootkit works. A rootkit will install certain applications, for example, a backdoor, a keylogger and stuff like that on the system. But from the actual system's list of running applications, it will remove those entries so that when you even if you hit the task manager or any other application or any other task manager or third-party application, they won't be listing them because all these applications, they rely on the list provided by the kernel, and the list provided by the kernel itself is faulty or tampered with. This is how rootkit works. Now what happens when I try to search for a file? Can I remove a rootkit?
Yes.
Very difficult.
You can, in Linux at least you can compile the kernel,
Pardon?
Linux you can always compile the kernel by yourself.
Yeah, so what I'm asking is on a Windows machine, can you remove a rootkit?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yes.
We don't have any such access to the kernel in Windows.
It's very
Because
difficult
Windows
to remove once it's infected.
It's very difficult. It's very difficult to remove a rootkit from Windows installation because the first thing that you require is to detect it. Though there are certain tools available on the internet or around you which can detect some of the rootkits that are running, but still you don't know which components are present, how it's going to stuff like that. Because whenever you run an application on a Windows OS which is infected by a rootkit, it is again another control to the rootkit. So even if you want to detect the rootkit, the best idea that you can have is to actually remove the hard disk and scan it using a different OS entirely. That is one of the ways using which you can detect the rootkit successfully. Once that thing has been done, if you know how to remove the rootkit, then well, otherwise you have to do a complete format and then install the OS.
But even by using a different OS, how can we scan it out? Because the Windows OS will install a different section of the hard disk. So
Yes, you can always do a file compare, right?
Sorry?
Okay, let's assume that I've got a laptop running Linux OS. Can I connect a hard drive which contains Windows file system?
Yeah.
I can. Once I connect it, what is going to happen? It is going to be detected as a different drive altogether. Can I access the files on it?
Yeah.
I can. After that, I can do file compare. Okay, now let's move on to the next section. Do most of the viruses and malwares. Okay, now let's say that I've got a keylogger after breaking into a system, so let's assume that it's part of something. I install a keylogger on the remote machine. Will I want it to start up and teach boot up? Or do I want it to have no startup features at all? Which is preferable?
No certifications.
To auto start.
Sorry? Auto starting.
To auto start, right? Why so? So that I don't have to go through the entire process again. Okay. Now, what are some of the common tricks of auto start?
Let's config startup.
Anything else?
Run once.
Run registry.
Or with the programs attached with the programs that
Yes.
start.
Otherwise, what you can do is you can simply infect some other program, for example. Let's assume that I replace the Windows Explorer with my malware. Okay. See, is Windows Explorer by default executed when I turn on Windows system? Yes. So if I create an application which contains some kind of malicious code, for example, a keylogger, once started, it will install the keylogger module inside your system, and then it will kick off explorer.exe. Will I notice a difference? Let's say I replace the original explorer.exe with my malware, which upon running will install a keylogger module on my system. And once that thing has been done, it will start up the actual explorer. Will I notice a difference?
No.
No, I won't. Right? Now there are some other tricks using which you can write an auto startup application. One of the ways would be to actually edit the registry entries, run it on this one. Or else you can hook up some startup files, for example, auto-exit.batch file and so on. Or else you can use any other technique. There are bazillions of techniques using which you can start up an application and boot it. How do you usually bypass a firewall?
Stop firewall service. Kill firewall.
That will be one technique. If you don't want to raise any alarms there,
Basic thing is that you must know what power permissions does it have, what are the accepted reasons for a firewall. And when you have this idea, then you can always bypass a firewall.
okay, now let's say that you have an application level firewall, for example, Zone Alarm, installed on your XP machine or Windows machine. If an application runs and if it tries to connect to the internet, will I get a pop-up?
Yes.
Yes. Whether connection is to be allowed or not. Okay? If I click no, then what is going to happen?
It will not let.
It is not allowed. No matter how many times it tries to connect it, it is going to see already a rule is set which says that this application is not supposed to access internet. Done. So no matter how many times I run a particular application, it is not going to be allowed to access internet. Is IE Explorer allowed to access internet?
Yes.
Internet Explorer?
Yes.
If I have some kind of P2P client, is it allowed? See, there are certain applications which I want to allow connection. For example, if I've got a browser, for example, Chrome is connected to the internet. So when I run Chrome, and when the firewall asks me whether it is allowed, I click yes. Now, if I write an application which will launch Chrome, and inside Chrome's memory space, code source code, and then it will try to connect to the internet then,
Yes, it is allowed.
it will be allowed. Right? So this is what you call as process injection. This is one of the techniques that is used by most of the applications to bypass firewalls. Okay?
Can you please come up with that?
Okay. See, let's say that I write an application which will start up Chrome as a process. and override that process's code with its own code.